All right, here we are with the Tolleson-Mack podcast. We got Double B here, Wesley Thorp, T. Wade. We're going to talk to you about the next 90 minutes, just a little bit about what they've been doing, maybe a little bit about their home life, some real things that they want to talk about, and maybe some stuff that they're getting ready for the national finals. And we're looking forward to this conversation, and we want to give a big shout out right now to Turtle Box. We appreciate these for those times that you need to jam and get after it and really kind of maybe just drown everybody else out. We appreciate the Turtle Box Company for their speaker technology. And also we're talking about Hoof Grip.
Yeah.
And
brand new sponsors came on with this Hoof Grip.
Yeah.
Shout out Hoof Grip.
Shout out to Hoof Grip. We love your product. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I love it anyway.
It's a trailer Hoof Grip. It's a spray-in like a bed liner situation.
Oh, I love Hoof
for trailers. For horse trailers.
That way when your mats get wet, they don't slip.
Yeah, and it goes through the floor.
Right, it's kind of the pebble foam, and you do different colors.
Yeah.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
Are you guys a believer like on that stuff, like for traveling so much your horses? Do you guys like than just pads or like rubber mats, or what do you guys do?
Man, like they travel so much that they've got to be comfortable. I mean, they need all the pad, which we put rubber mats, and then there's shavings, everything we can on top of that. But
it depends too. We keep like soft rides around in case they lose a shoe.
Those boot things that go on top. Yep. Okay.
Hey, with that being said, like, does Bloomer, is it standard now that they come with the new gel foam, or are they still just original pads over the aluminum floor? Or mats, excuse me.
Well, my friends at Platinum Trailers always bring the best for them.
Okay. All right,
I think both ways. Yeah. I mean,
I just didn't know if that becomes standard now, because I didn't know if it's the spray-on foam, but I see it, where they're spreading it.
Oh, yeah.
It's much softer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's soft. I mean, the trailers ride.
That's what you're equipped with.
They're riding.
Okay, cool.
They're riding good. I mean, trailers are pretty dang comfortable.
I know it, right?
What so let's go back to Turtle Box real quick. Do you guys a believer in, like, when you're at home practicing, to have some kind of a sound system, or just to make a lot of noise? Do you factor that into your horse and going to these rodeos? It's so much loud and stuff like that. Is that something that you guys do at home, like music?
So honestly, I do think that's a good point, because these horses sometimes aren't ready for that. But I don't have electricity, or haven't since I moved my place down at the arena. So I haven't had a sound system until now.
That's why it's good. Turtle
now
Box,
I got one now.
Yeah.
So I can put it down there and let the young horses hear it.
Yeah.
Play it.
But that's definitely something that people factor in, though. I mean, you need to have your horses kind of.
Oh, I think so. I was getting ready for the futurity here recently, and I had a guy. I was covering my boxes. And so I had the guys on top of the welding, and getting after it, and it was making a ton of noise, and they didn't know what to think. But I thought it was good, just because, I didn't make him stop at all, because I just wanted to let them, if they can be calm there.
Yeah, with welders and stuff.
With parts flying around, they're probably going to be all right.
The way we wrote, we need to talk to each other between each runs and kind of break it down.
Yeah.
So I'm not real big on the speaker deal, except when it comes to horses.
Yeah,
getting them
prepared for that,
and like even turn it up in the freaking barn and get them used to that banging around and that noise where it kind of goes out the window. Otherwise, a lot of people use like earplugs for their horses. When they don't get adapt to it and stuff, they put them up.
I put him in now, the gray horse that I'm riding currently, because bought him from Spunk Sasser. He said he kind of needed him. He called him what the cats play with, those cat balls. You can get them at Tractor Supply or like a PetSmart or something like that, quite a bit cheaper than you can actually, the tube of them, so they work the same. But you stuff them in there, and they seem to work pretty good. And my gray horse is 16, but he still needs them almost every time, because he just gets jittery, and I'd rather him not be, because...
It's like a tampon for their ear?
Well, I guess if you want to call it that, it's just a little ball. It's a foam ball that you press down in there.
Yeah.
Oh. So then a lot of times I forget to take them out, too. I'm just like, that
Till the next day.
That next
Suckers
day.
walk around dead for a week.
Yeah. The next day I got one in, one out. And just
What? So you guys are in town for the Honda
Rodeo.
Honda Rodeo. Do you guys like these standalone outfits.
Man, I
pretty
think
cool.
these are a great addition for the rodeo world. I really do.
Yeah, pick up a little money and this is kind of your downtime, right? In between the last one you ran and then the first one you're going to do in Vegas. So this is kind of downtime then for you guys.
October was really busy with a lot of jackpots. We had plenty to go to, circuit finals, 4 or 5 really big jackpots.
Yeah,
a couple small ones. So, we stayed busy, but this is just a good addition to be able to fit in with our year before the finals. This is one of the top events of the whole entire year.
You said there was the top 8 they bring all invited.
It's 8 invitational. Yeah. They had a little bit of a criteria on how they picked a few, and then the rest were invitational.
What was the criteria?
They went with last year's world champions, average champions, and then after that, they went the year prior last 2 years world champions, last year's average champions, and then it was invitational after that.
All right.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And then so it pays $12,000 a round, and then $20,000 or $25,000 for the average.
For the average,
that's like that. And then like the Cody Johnson just had his big one. Those are starting to pop up. They're kind of getting a bit more common to have, I think. And these guys are the sponsorship we were talking about. Those are big names, and you don't really see those like Fritos. Have you ever seen Fritos sponsor anything in the rodeo world prior to this?
I personally,
you know what I mean? Like those are some sponsors that you really don't see in the mainstream PRCA world, and I think that's great. That's just more money getting brought to the rodeo and everything else, more eyes. What's the next one? Do you have anything planned before now in Vegas?
Well, Charlie Crawford has his military celebration this whole week, and tomorrow is the NFR version of his roping. So we'll have 4 rounds at NFR setup.
And where's that at?
Fort Worth at Northside.
Tomorrow.
Same exact dimensions.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
You guys leaving here going tomorrow? So ropes tonight and haul ass tomorrow?
We fly out tonight.
Oh, okay.
Fly out, yes.
Okay. That's what's up. So your horses get shipped over there?
Different horses. We'll ride different horses tomorrow, but yes, they will be.
Man, I that's a whole that rodeo world, like how you guys travel and all that stuff. I don't know how you.
We get to rope for 10,000-12,000 a day for the next 4 or the last 4 days. So it's pretty cool. That's a lot of opportunity that is up for us.
That's the greatest thing about it, because it was noted. It's well worthy. It's been needed for a long time.
Yeah. And then I guess we'll skip a week. There's nothing major the next week. And then day before Thanksgiving, we're going to come out here to Arizona again, and we'll probably get a chance to rope 50,000 in 4 days.
Yeah, I'd say there's at least 6 ropings, 7 ropings in 4 days there.
And we start Vegas.
Mm-hmm. So. Is that at
all easily ropings?
Yeah, we'll go to Dynamite. Well, Downtown, Rancho Rio, Roper Nation,
Buckeye.
Yeah. So there'll be 2 of them at downtown. There's usually 1 or 2 others pop up. So there'll be 6 to 7 ropings within 4 days.
And the opportunities for us now are so big compared to, honestly, even just 2012 when I started compared to Brett when he started.
Yeah, a lot of differences. They were still trying that format. It just a lot of times it seemed like a battle with them, and they wouldn't last.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like whether the Dallas Cups, they had a cup at Las Vegas. Cheesy and I won that one. We won the one in Dallas, where they tried to showcase talent, which I think is exactly what we have to do with this rodeo and sport. And not that I've been that involved as of the last few years, but it is something that allowed me to do what I love to do for a living, which is heel steers. And I still do it today because I'm not a very good fucking plumber or electrician. Okay? So that's what I want to do. But with that being said, they were trying then, and I know that when they say back when the bulls bucked and all that shit, it was different. Okay? It's a lot different. But they did try for a little bit, but then it just seems like they fizzled out. So here's what would be nice if, in fact, these... whether it's WCRA, which I know really nothing about. I don't know nothing about the Hondo. I know something about the system because when I see these guys winning the money that they're winning, I think that it's good. Not are they fortunate to get it, but it's needed because it costs so fucking much to go, and these horses and their time and what they put into it, they have to have those. And in order to make more money through sponsors and endorsements and different things, or just cash alone when they do good because they've dropped their balls and they were the best, they need paid for it.
Absolutely. I'm not asking you guys to say anything that you don't want to say about anything, especially PRCA, about that. But man, I just think with the amount of money that the PRCA brings in, especially the new deal they bring in, I think to the year-end world champions, there has to be a bonus for you guys, like something at the end of the tunnel, because you guys between both of you guys have $2 million worth of rigs and horses and all the stuff to make them. You guys are the talent for the bar. You guys are the band at the bar that brings all the people in. You know what I mean? And the bar makes all the money. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just feel like I wish that they would do more for the world champions. Like, you know what I mean? There has to be something, a bonus at the end of the year, you know, like they do with the bull riding and stuff like that, PBR. I just wish that there was, like, with these extra sponsors monies, I think that they're going to have to step their game up. I think that these standalone ones are kind of making
it's amazing. These have been a really, really good addition because there's some competition involved. There's somebody else at the table. That's what drives everything. It doesn't matter what business you're in. There has to be. I mean, why is CVS across from Walgreens? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you have to work together to grow the whole industry. Yeah. It's not a one mindset of, oh, we got to close these guys out. We got to capture our own and keep this. And it's been set up that way for so long.
It's been selfish.
And it's like, it's almost like scared of, instead of like, hey, come, I'll give it, let's work together, drive it up. Yeah. And that's how it works. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're 100% competitors. If you work together to create bigger for the industry, it's going to grow in the long run. And that's what it's been just a weak mindset for a long time. And I think things are getting better, and the competition is going to force that to get better with this. So I think it's going to have to get better, but I do think there's some good things in the works. There has been some good additions to the PRCA. There's been some good changes at the PRCA, and there's things that are positive in that direction too. For sure.
Every year it is taking more money to make it.
Absolutely.
So, wow. That's a big benefit. I think I looked at, maybe it was last year's to this year's difference. And every event was every standings from 15, 16, 17, there was about 10,000 more.
Yes.
And it was only 5 more rodeos to count than last year. So, I mean, I feel like it's headed in the right direction. The rodeos alone, in between each other, like, there'll be 6 in one weekend, and every one of them, the rodeo that had 7,500 now, we don't even think about, which makes it like, hey, what do we got to do to get the best guys to come? And then that competition Wesley's talking about, where it keeps upgrading.
Yeah, right. I think Shad was on here yesterday, and he said a lot of things about it, and with the you've had controversy with stuff, and I think guys like you that aren't scared to speak up and say like this, with flagging and whatever, I'm saying when people they step up to the and I'm proud that you back it, like you're not scared of the.
Well, in my opinion, like, you can point fingers at the PRC all you want, you can point fingers at whoever all you want. It's our fault. Yeah. It's his generation's fault. It's my generation's fault. It's all of our fault. If we would communicate, how much downtime do we have at rodeos?
Oh, I mean, to the point it made me want to golf, and I hate golfing.
You're telling me you can't fit 100 top contestants into a room for a
No.
few hours and spend? You can't.
Well, you want to.
You want to. I'm just saying, it's our fault that we haven't figured out the problem and hadn't been more proactive in figuring this out. So they're not to blame for it. Yeah, they've made decisions, but it's supposed to be, it is a membership organization. And if you put the right time and effort and resources into it, it could be better.
Absolutely.
And it's, like I said, it's getting better on its own, but I'm not going to point fingers at the PRSA because of what's happened, because it is our fault.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been several times over years back in the 80s, where they gave away the rights and gave away things, and then we've done things where we haven't been proactive. And like, if we would just spend some time to focus on it as together, for the growth.
I just don't think nobody understands we don't understand the committee. The PRC doesn't understand maybe us as much as, because a lot of guys that are up there hadn't rodeoed in a long time or whatever it is,
Right. Well, still too, I mean, back in the day where we were trying to get equal money at the finals and, throughout the year, it come to the point where we don't necessarily wanted to push the vessel as non-diplomatic or not to be civil in any way, but it just almost comes to a point sometimes, and I will say this, dealing with stock contractors and what I thought that they ran the business then, and pretty strongly probably still now, and have not had my head in the business for a long time. But with that being said, I mean, everybody needs to make better, because I know what the contract is for a 22 per San Antonio. I know what the contract is just because of word of mouth, and over the years you hear those guys are making large amounts of money. But they have to put on the show as well. I give that responsibility to them, and I don't take it for granted. It's a lot of work, but I still think it can be shared. And like Wesley said, I think with just in conversation, maybe having one guy to push the vehicle and that can speak and not be too fucking redneck and want to push some things that don't sound good. But it came to a point like with Matt Tyler, who made a big difference for us. We're at the meeting on Wednesday, And most of the time that was after the number ceremony. And I mean, most guys were hungover, ready to do the, we're going to do the grand entry rehearsal, which is fucking horrible.
Some things don't change.
Yeah. So, I mean, from there, we're just like, we can't wait for these stock contractors to come up and this guy to tell us from Las Vegas events, hey, we welcome you. Thank you. Here's where we're going to fucking park. And this is what you got to do. And so with that being said, Matt just stood up and said, hey, we made a decision. We don't want to rope. Maybe the wrong time, Matt, but maybe not the wrong time, because the stock contractors, they all left. They all huddled out about that time from, I don't remember, Survey, somebody else. They just went to a backroom meeting, and we all just sitting there like we was fucking dumb and, until they came back. And
this was at the grand entry rehearsal?
Absolutely. Matt Tyler stood up. Dude.
And that was for equal money?
Dude. Dude, we're not going to do that. I mean, we want, dude.
Yeah, you lift out. I don't know how this went down.
Whataburger, no, I'm saying he just stood up and said he wanted some equal money. He wanted an answer.
And that's kind of like
and Matt Tyler was good about that.
And they were able to come up with it right then on Wednesday.
No, they went back and told them but then Las Vegas events, they made it happen. Matt Tyler was that guy. He had a body behind him, but he was driven to say it. He stood up because you know what? Matt was a guy that watched a lot of ESPN, and he knew what other people were making in professional sports, and I think that's what we need to look at. Not that it's that much of a marketable event because of PETA and animal shit, but pay the Cowboys more. They need it.
Yeah, I think, honestly, PETA, I don't think that stuff's going to hold us back too much. I don't think they had a 20,000, and that's been an excuse per se, like to kind of give them the benefit. But right. I think that's beyond, because they have a loud voice, or they had a loud voice. I think obviously after last week, maybe their voice will go down even more. But
squeaky now.
I think, it's just they've always gotten the grease, but it just seems like downtown San Diego, we had 20,000 people there. And they've given them all kinds of hell. But if these guys can go through the effort to fight the city of San Diego to put on the rodeo there and go through the trouble they've gone through and going to get it back again, dude, there's no way PETA, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We can't use that as an excuse of, this or that. Yeah. I think, yes, it's not going to be the level of this or that, but I think the opportunities are there. It's just figuring out creative ways to get it, getting it.
Right.
We've heard for a long time, like, oh, that's going to be a matter of time when Oregon's not going to have any more rodeos, or Washington, up there. And shoot, that's some of the biggest rodeos. They're not going away.
No.
They'll fight them there, especially like you said, in California. If they're going to have them in California, they're ain't going to have.
There was a guy from Arizona, Bulldog from Arizona back in the day that he was fighting the system. There was 16 that made it into Bulldog in that year. He was another guy from Arizona. They use the word ratify a lot, which I think a lot of people pull books out of the thesaurus and decide they're going to use it that day. So ratify was what he was going to do to this, association, but they're strong. I've seen lawsuits. Matt had a guy that was a lawyer that did a lot of work, and did it for free and was going to do it for pro bono and had a lot of good points, but it's a strong system to have to fight, because you know what, really in the end, when I was told that by a lot of times Tough Edelman says, he'll come to me, what the fuck else you going to do? Nothing.
Yeah.
I want to go to him. So I'm going.
Speaking of like PETA and protests and stuff like that, what rodeos do you see? Like, is it the ones like downtown, like the big rodeos? Do you see a lot of that, like people outside with signs and stuff? Or
very minimal. Like at Houston, you'll see a handful with a sign on your way to the rodeo. At San Diego, you saw 10 to maybe 20, which I was surprised.
San Diego was the most I'd ever seen.
And I thought there was going to be hundreds, maybe. But, there might have been 30, 25 to 30 the most, and that's the most I've ever seen.
It's usually just like one person.
The one and only place that I ever saw it, predominantly the whole time I rodeoed, but when you rolled into Salt Lake to go downtown there where they play basketball, of course, a lot of times those stadiums are set up where those trucks will drive down. They set up for their concerts and stuff. So you got to ride down the moat or down to the bottom, and then you ride in the arena. Well, Salt Lake City, they would start on the corner. I don't know why. It's because it's just and mostly there were kids probably that wanted to do it for a $5 sack of weed, and I think that's what they were doing. So these guys were hiring them to make these stands because they got this content and video and shit for news or whatever it is. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me. But Salt Lake, they would take a piece of PVC pipe, and like if me and T-Wade was just to put our hands through whatever our ape index span is and meet hands, and like we did just win something and hold hands, and then they taped and got some like regular Bondo and shit, and they laid across that.
Jeez.
They laid across that so that the horses couldn't ride down. Well, they wouldn't within 15 minutes. Here comes the cops. They've just got that PVC pipe and 2 humans at the end of there, so it's just headed out. It's all cut them loose or nothing, but they moved them,
That's great.
Yeah, I think I really just think they've had a voice, and I mean, just like with anything, but people are so sick of it. I mean, just with the politics in general. I mean, more people are standing up for what they truly believe in instead of worrying about how it's going to affect their business or how it's going to affect their voice. Or it's. I mean, at the end of the day, like I think that's going to honestly be. We're going to get past that.
I believe it so too.
It's great to row for a living, though.
It's just common sense at the end of the day.
It's fun to row for a living.
I agree.
What's we'll go. What's your favorite rodeo other than the NFR?
I'm not gonna pick just one.
Yeah.
But to me, I get a real joy after doing this long, 12 years, seeing the people that try that hard, just like the rodeo in San Diego, just like this Hondo rodeo, the Kid Rock rodeo was badass. They're for the contestants and how big can we make this deal? And they want to grow it. And I was first out Thursday night or whatever, steer didn't start. I didn't know. I broke the barrier. See Court McCoy in the back, shake his hand and tell him thank you because I want to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that just, cool. For me, that's it. When I go to Calgary and I see the billions of dollars it looks like that's in there, and then we're roping for 10,000, and then we just had to get a passport. We had to get all the stuff to get here and send it. It doesn't. It's a cool rodeo.
Yeah.
It doesn't excite me that much.
Spent probably $1,500 to $2,000 to get there.
Cheyenne Frontier Days. Drive over there 4 times, $500 entry.
Yeah.
Gut my horse 4 times, and the 4th cow runs a little harder, and I'm too long to win.
Yeah.
Whatever you win, But like, it's a big rodeo, and they'd probably be mad for me for saying that, but the money's there, and nobody's putting it up.
Yeah, that's a common denominator with a lot of these rodeos.
I'm not sure the money is here for the Hondo yet, as far as the fan base goes, but they're building it.
Yeah.
And they're putting it up, and I'm all about it and support the heck out of it.
I didn't go to the first 2 rounds, but how was the stands?
First night was light.
Was it?
The second night, but I mean that's a huge.
No, it's
stadium.
Thursday also.
But and then last night was.
It holds 48,000.
Yeah, so it looked.
When they're spread out, I can't really.
Yeah.
Just
Saturday night is a lot though. Saturday night is supposed to be
12,000, and it looked like nobody was there. So it's hard to tell, but I'm not gonna pin down to one rodeo. Just any of them that are big on. Go to Baker, Montana. Population looks like it's about 500 people. Sucker adds 110,000 to the rodeo, and you're like, hey, that's awesome. Yeah. You know what I mean? Kildeer's the same way. Like, there's not even hardly any bleachers, and it adds 90,000 or something like that. Crazy. You know what I mean? And it's,
yeah. People take notice that the rodeos that try, sometimes maybe they're not noticed as publicly as they should, but I think that, for us, and I wish that meant more, but yeah, I mean, Ellensburg, the people at Ellensburg, there's places you go that that they're wanting to try hard, but then that normally starts with good committee people too, and it's a volunteer program, so that's where you run into some issues too. You get idiots.
Yeah. Shad made it a pretty good. He said that his dad won Calgary. I forget what year, but it was like in the 80s or something, and it still pays exactly the same as it does now. Yeah. But he said back in that there was hardly anybody in the stands, and there was no carnival, and there was nothing like they have now. So how could they justify that?
They're getting them either way. So why
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Same thing. That's what I've been doing up there. There's a rodeo that 18 weeks running in Woodstown, Piles in Oak Grove, New Jersey. They charge $25 a ticket for an adult.
Yeah,
it's 6,000 every Saturday. I did the math. I don't know how to. I don't necessarily how to say what you're going to make, but I can figure ticket fucking sales. I can get my calculator out and say 25 times 6,000 times 18 equals this, and they had the same 1,100 they have since maybe 1940. I know I'm exaggerating about my shit, but whether I'm exaggerating or not, it's a rodeo that needs to add more.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to get their same 6,000 going back to
that's a cash cow for the PRC. I mean, that's a 6%. I mean, they get 6%. That's a big deal to the PRC.
Huge.
I mean, they're getting.
And like the PRC aren't putting these rodeos on. The committee is. The committee's coming in and giving the PRC a check to have one just to say it.
I will say this. I did say this, but there's camaraderie up there. There's friendships. There's a lot of times it's like a gymkhana.
Yeah.
It's more of a junior rodeo. Sometimes they all show up at the same spot. I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with what I think these guys have worked for in the first frontier circuit, because they don't get to practice, say, or rope at all, say, for 4 months out of the year because of the weather or whatever it is. But they need to start recognizing them a little more, paying them a little bit more. Because again, if there wasn't the Betty Barrel Racers or the Johnny Rockets that tried to bulldog, or all these guys that tried to do something, if that arena was empty, they wouldn't sell the tickets.
Yeah.
So don't go. I told them one time, I said, hey, look, here's the only way we're going to make Woodstown ads more. If we all enter, and then let's say the Thursday before the rodeo, just say, you know what, call everybody and say, hey, we're not going. We're not going to show up. And then so next month you guys add 2,500 rodeo.
It's
just work with us.
However you got on a scale where it was like, hey, y'all grow, we grow.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, y'all grow and we're going to be there anyways.
Yeah.
So what does it matter?
Because I think that they say, well, if you guys say, you know what, we're not going to go, or we're not going to go, we're going to do something different. There's so many young 18-year-olds that are coming up that want to be you guys. You know what I mean?
We don't produce our own events. Not one.
Yeah.
Not the NFR. Not even the NFR.
No.
We don't produce the NFR. We have no control of our own destiny of that reason. Like, if there's no, like he's saying, the percentage scale, there's nothing that says, okay, this percentage goes to the community, this percentage goes to rodeo. As it gets bigger, this gets bigger. There's nothing. Like, if they want to capture 90% of proceeds to go back to this, great. If they want to capture 10% to go back to this, they do, and that's why the rodeos. So it's like, there's no format that we don't have any. We have no leverage as an association membership to grow. We don't produce our own event to be able. And I get how much it costs to produce an event. So you can't all these little 700 PSA rodeos. So if you're Woodstown Pot, you can't afford to produce a lot of those rodeos. But if you could capture the big ones, and especially the NFR,
absolutely,
I think some of them too, they're not big enough to limit the entries. So if we add too much, we're going to get more contestants than we want. We just want to fill the perf because we're selling these $25 tickets, 6,000 of them. Yeah. So they're like, we just need a perf, and we don't care who.
Yeah.
And if we add too much, we'll get 40 in the slack, and we don't want that at all. Yeah. So there's a line right there where they can't. Yeah. They don't want to make it too big because it makes it harder.
And like you said, like some of them rodeos that make you come 4 times back and forth, and it's just they don't put that wear and tear and all the traveling you guys got to do a little bit, like
or like if the scheduling of like slacks back to back physically can't make them without getting a plane, so you send a rig here and there, and they're some of them you physically. The 2 best rodeos of the week you physically can't make, because
economically we can really afford to charter a plane sometimes. It's not that fucking cheap.
Charter a plane and then pay somebody $1,000 to trade you just because they're sitting at home wanting. Yeah. They know when you need to go, so they're gonna go ahead and.
And
Charles Polk would never pay $1,000 for a trade. He'd just soon fight as pay for $1,000 trade.
And then when it comes down to like, when people run out of rodeos or go to too many, and like the controversy that we had last year and stuff like that. This is a PRCA, the Professional Rodeo Association. How could they not get that right? I know it's up to you guys to kind of keep track or whatever, but to me, there has to be a better system. There has to be like a card. You go to this rodeo and you say, I'm going to count this rodeo. Boom. Like how could it be that? How could it come down to that much confusion?
I don't understand enough of it to know.
It came down to basically when they had to do the audit, and they went through the audit on that situation, like the person that relayed the information back to the contestant misrepresented what the audit was. But in all their stuff now, they say not final when they send it. So like they're not technically liable for it. It's just bad information from somebody that was up there.
I got you.
So then you're going off of that bad information you're getting.
I just found when it went on for a couple days, wasn't it? A couple days that they were kind of up in the air.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, man, how could this be? Like, I don't understand like how they could, regardless of whose fault or whatever happens. Shouldn't there be like when you go to the office, just have like, I'm counting this rodeo, boom, and then that card, like there's so much technology that should be able to like, all right, your card has this much rodeos left on it.
Well, there's
to be honest, there's so many moving parts to the whole shebang that this little group is responsible.
Right, exactly.
There's 700 rodeos that are all technically to this day created equal. I mean, they all have the same representation. Every member pays the same $500 fee in Woodstown as they do in Stephenville, Texas, as they do in wherever. They're paying the same fee, the same representation. They mean the same, Yeah,
I got you.
And this small organization is managing that per se. So there's too many. I mean, they don't have enough judges. They don't have enough. Yeah. They can't create this vehicle, but the bottom 500 feed the vehicle the most because those small committees are the ones that are the most happy to pay the 6%.
Yeah.
So it has to be more organized to where it's tiered scares people. So I don't want to say this to where they don't. I'd have to explain what my theory on it is, but you have to be tiered to where you could organize the vehicle better.
Yeah, I know it's complicated. It's just from a guy that knows nothing about the whole situation. It's just outside looking in. It's like, how could they not know at the not the end of the year? I mean, I don't know. I just
we just have to write in a book, and just count them as we went. So you get to about Pendleton time, and you start saying, well, this is 76, 77, whatever the count was at the time, and then you would enter out. If sometimes you would enter unofficial sometimes. I mean, because it was kind of confusing. But going back to what Wesley said, I think it's an understaffed place where all this business takes care of. And I mean, like this, you shouldn't miss a rodeo. No. You should be able to work better on your trades, get the perfs you want. But it seems to me like that's non-personable now. I mean, where I used to call the operators all the time, or for the most part, I acted like I couldn't enter, so I didn't have to. So the headers chose to, which is good because most of mine took care of me anyway. So with that being said, though, I mean, it was just like you enter now, where if I enter, I just enter online. Woodstown has no perfs, or preferences. So, I mean, I just put in, but I can't imagine. How many two headers do you guys go to nowadays?
I would say 20%. Maybe would be.
I mean, I heard Jake saying something about the other day that with the reach and evolution, and there's less two headers, and I mean, he's a lot of times right. I can remember going with Charles, and if ever, I'm pretty confident in going before the second light pole 5-2 twice. I was going to win really good money. So with that being said, but that don't happen now. So
no, it's
we went to 76 rodeos and run 128 steers this year. So,
wow. What's the count? What's the rodeo count?
80.
80?
Oh, it is? Okay. Yep. I didn't even know.
And last year we went to 75 and ran 136.
Wow.
So I think, that's probably because I didn't catch as many in the short round. but didn't make it as many times. But it depends on where you go and all that. But there's a lot of one-hitters.
Yeah.
For sure.
Which, in all, too, which I hadn't had a chance to yet. But bottom line is congratulations, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Way to be.
Sure. Yep.
Fucking way to hook it to them. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm proud of you because this is something I've done and do. And you guys did it.
I'm hit or miss, and he's hit, so it works pretty good.
Yeah, right.
He is hit, yeah. And that's okay. That's T-Wade, and he's been that way ever since I can remember.
No, he's honestly, his style over past year has evolved so much. Like, now, like, when he first, 8-9 years ago, if he was high call back, you're like,
I know.
maybe we'll see. It depends on what horse he's. But now, if you're high call, he's going to turn the steer.
Well, I've never doubted him since he was 10, 11 years old, seeing him where I saw him. But I never doubted him. But there always come to a point with, like you said, my generation where I knew out catching them rather than out fasting them worked for me.
Yeah.
And now with these guys, I say T-Wade, I say Dustin, I say Caleb, of course. And there's probably a few others, although I haven't watched as many, but I've watched him. I watched these guys that really reach because I wanted to kind of see what was up. But their fucking measurements are so spot on now. It just seems like they're amazing. And they do reach, and they reach with precision. So
it seems like nowadays you have to have, all the gas you need. I mean, you got to have full tilt, but then there's still a big advantage to being able to have getting them captured when you need to. I mean, there is plenty of times where you use the gas to get ahead and then play the situation out at the end. And that's kind of our whole game plan, is being able to be as fast as we need or mash as fast as we need. But we've got to have enough control on the head side and heel side, horses in general, whatever we're riding, to be able to third round at Houston, clean run makes it back.
Yeah.
Second round at San Antonio, we're winning, clean run gets to the next one, or high call at the BFI. You've got to have that. And you guys, it's amazing to watch the old videos back in the days. Y'all didn't miss. I mean, you guys didn't miss jackpot, and you didn't miss. There was no missing ever, hardly. Headers through and perfect head loops. It was sharp watching, and horses run. The healers were lights out, and so it was fun watching. And it is interesting how it's evolved. But a lot of what y'all were good at, you have to have that now. You have to have that catch factor of being able to know you've got the confidence to catch the steer after you've gone full tilt. 2 rounds at Casper. Short goes, falls apart, you're high back, 8 flat to win the rodeo. You wouldn't think 4-2, 4-5, 8 flat to win the rodeo. You know what I mean? That happens, though. Because guys spin their wheels, the steer, whatever happens, it unravels, and you've got to be able to capture that steer. That's the easiest money you're going to get the whole entire year, that steer.
Yeah.
And that, there's 6 steers a year that might be the easiest money you get all year, and it might amount to $200,000.
You're right.
It might be the NFR 10th round, BFI short go, Houston. You know what I'm saying? Like you've got to got to capture those 5 or 6 steers and know you're going to do it.
Well said.
And I think both ends got to be the quarterback now, where you always had the header that went faster caught and the heeler went faster caught, and you kind of now it's like, if I don't throw, he better throw, and he usually does, and I got the confidence, and if I hang it on him, he might heal him on the second or third, wherever he thinks he needs to win.
He has to.
Where you don't get that guy that's stuck in one way or another, for sure.
All right, here we are back with T-Wade and Baby Jesus right here with us. Wesley Thorp, world champion. T-Wade, world champion. Flint Farms. Let's give them a big shout out right now.
Yep.
They got some good hay. We love good hay.
Yep. Talk to Haven and Medge and
yeah.
He's been buying a bunch of it, and Chad's been taking care of Lane Ivy and those guys over there. So
nice. Haven Medge did. That's the California.
Especially after I heard you on the phone forget to hay your horse this morning.
I did too. Yeah,
we grained them, but we didn't give no hay.
Thank you, Flint. Appreciate that. Well, all right. So let's see here. So we got the finals coming up. We got everything kind of covered. What do you guys do? Like maybe 2 weeks prior to, I'd go to Charles's house. I'd run as many as I possibly could till my fingers hurt and it was cold. And we didn't set up for the NFR to begin with. Speedy kind of started that deal. You know, it started where he was going to get the measurements from the Mac and all that stuff. At that time, Speedy could have set it up in an open fucking pasture and still wiped our asses. It was just amazing. But with that being said, I mean, you guys going to set it up like that? You go somewhere?
He already set it up at his house there at Terrell. I'll have it at my house, and usually just build the left wall, build a little corner, set the boxes up right, and then leave the back open.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is the steers, really. Like you have to have strong, realistic steers. And I think the worst thing you can do, or the worst thing I've done based off experience, is unrealistic practice on unrealistic steers. You know, if you're riding unrealistic horses, like just getting on a plug to run 30 and ruining your steers is the worst thing you can do. If you're going to rope, just go rope. Like go jackpot practice, stay fundamentally sharp. But I like to, at first, like I went over there, we'd probably run 30 or so, maybe even 40 one day and 30 the next day. And
to all those listeners, that's a lot. I mean, really, they know, but 40, that's what people ask me about.
It's 40 for real.
Right. I was going to say this.
Full contact.
Yeah, people need to understand that in order to achieve the level of greatness that this group right here has, you have to run stout and strong. You got to press on the accelerator.
And honestly, that's probably, like, as we get closer to time, for me, it will be better, or it is better to run less steers on my good horse. Like I'll have 5 or 6 horses that I think are realistic, even if they're further down the line. Like I jackpot on them, I use them, they're realistic feel. But if I can, we'll make ourselves run 3 and switch no matter what. We have to run 3 steers, get off your horse, get on another one. 3 steers, get off, miss all 3, get off your horse. You got to go, like, stay focused, paying attention to what you're doing, and maybe run 20 steers. Keep your steers strong. Don't wear them out, because if you wear them out and then the last week you're practicing and all of a sudden you're roping lopers and you're about to go out there and get smoked, it's just not the same. Your angles have to be sharp. And I think if you want to just run steers, go get your other set, go practice, work on fundamentals, work on your horses.
And not to say that they're not there, because you guys wouldn't do what you were doing if there wasn't a certain style, a fundamental, a way. But I'll promise you, out of the 130 that I ran at the Mac, I don't know if there's ever a point where I felt like on 2 steers, this is like the feist on the 12 that I roped in a row to win back to back. I never felt at one point at the finals that I'm just like, I'm in control.
No,
I really never did. And I tell people all the time, it is the hardest place to heal in the world.
I agree.
For many different reasons, because I was nervous. Yeah, there was excitement. There was $17,000 day money compared to what they are now. But I never felt like, I'm in a groove. I had to always bear down. Straight is fast there, and then about the time you go straight, then T-Wade happens to find a sneaker up over the right horn, and that motherfucker leaves you with your panties pulled down. So that's what you don't want, but they want straight as well. Which brings me to kind of a segue with you, T-Wade. I said it with Sartain the very first year because I watched him rope and grow up. And he was the guy that his head impresses me. T-Wade's head impresses me. But I want to know, like, when Nick made the finals, maybe that one year, I don't know if it was on the Atmare or not. But I said before he went, not that I was giving any kind of criteria of what should or shouldn't happen. My opinion was I thought that he'd get into the wall. And, my guys, Charles hardly got in the wall a lot because he was an average roper. But do you know at certain times you're going to get in the wall? What do you do in the wall?
I think that the best guys now, it's gotten so advanced of like reading the arena, read the situation, and know, like, all right, if I break to the pin, so it's 56 foot from the middle of the chute to the left wall. It's 44 from the pulley, from the left side of the box. So if I break wide, I've already lost ground. And then if I step out, I've lost more ground. So he's only going to have about 20 foot to face and hill him. So, like, you're going to have to figure that out before you get started. So it's always to the steer. I stay there and I hold him as long as I can. So when I pull him back, I give him 44 to 50 foot to hill him in and not 10.
Yeah.
And I think it's gotten so advanced with stuff like that we've talked about is like, you know, we'll be in Canby, Oregon, and our steer comes left. And I'll tell Wesley, I'm like, I'm going to head him right behind him so I can have more room to pull him. Because if I get wide, I'm stuck at the fence, and then we just blame the arena and leave.
Does that mean like you go back up the arena, kind of?
Well, it's like if he comes left, I'm going to get right behind him so it takes longer to turn him versus getting wide where I have to just stop immediately.
Yeah. Well, so commonly it's supposed to be.
I'm going to, try to save myself 10 foot so he can heal him.
Yeah.
And then like him reading the situation as far as like, hey, he did this, so I need to get up around him so I can shut the run down faster. So you're planning on roping. You know, you wait to rope him to finish.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's almost like you can tell the future a little bit of like, hey, I need to do this so this happens.
I couldn't explain it any better as far as finish. When you use the word finish, I say it at my schools. I want people to finish, you know, and there's a lot of importance in that run where Charles and I finished. No matter where we were, it just seemed like he didn't run out of room or I happened to be dallied just enough where it always finished. But I was curious about a guy like T. Wade or Dustin or Caleb or like Nick when he was going. Do you guys get to a point where you're like, you know what, I don't want to throw it this far. Maybe I stay down and run one more because your measurements are better?
I think it's just a point of like for me, like I never listened to nobody because it was always trial and error for me.
Raylan said you didn't.
I wish I was the guy that like my dad said, don't touch that, and I didn't touch it. But I had to see if it was hot. You know what I mean? Like, so I think roping's the same way. Like you learn from your own mistakes and you fix them. And like the first couple of years, it was like, well, he come left. I'm just not gonna finish good. Instead of like, how can I fix that?
A reacher.
Yeah, and just changing things to make it better. And then like, I remember I was having hill facing, so I watched videos of Trevor and Patrick because Trevor always finished the best. And then I kind of figured out his angles and where he was at. I was like, I got to follow those angles. Even if I don't like to hit them from there, I got to figure that out. And just evolve, honestly.
You know, a guy like me that don't know nothing like you guys know, just the average fan watching it, those top three, you, Caleb, and Dustin, as far as I'm concerned, when you guys turn to face, there's hardly ever slack in your rope. And like, you know, the finishing part of that, there can't be, right? It has to be
and
kind of.
If there's any slack, that flagger's going to hold
that's what I mean.
Forever.
So that's a big thing with guys that throw a lot of rope. Am I right by saying that when they turn to face, if they have a lot of rope out there, it's more common to see it slack in the rope. Is that right?
Well, you're better off, honestly, facing a little worse on a tight rope than facing amazing on a loose rope because they're going to hold a little extra.
Yeah, they look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like Wesley said earlier, there's not enough of them that know anything, that when they want to find something, they're looking for a reason to say, I'm a judge, and when there's a little lay on the ground, they'll wait.
Yeah.
They'll be in balance with that.
I you know, that makes up time right there. And you know, average fan like my wife watches and say, what the hell? They were just, and then I have to explain it to her, rewind it, you know, show her that that's the reason, but
right.
I act like I know what I'm talking about, but
I think we're just trying to make a run that we can get to the point, like, well, what can you count on?
Yeah.
So like, if I throw faster, I can't count on that at all, but we can work on taking a little longer to finish better. Because we can always finish every time.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if we set ourselves up that way.
One thing I think he's done a great job of, and we worked on last year, was in that building, like, even though he's being aggressive, not pass up a throw, he's keeping momentum. Yeah, like his horse is running full speed when he heads the steer, and then he is taking a little bit more time turning, but like the steer opens up, and then we are in the middle of the arena. So like our run is shutting down better if it's in the middle, but even if it's to the left, like even if the steer does step left, he's slowed down right there. I heal him fast, and then we still get a pretty good finish. So, like, you're not bringing it dying off. You're bringing it full blast. So he might not be 3 coals, because 2 coals turns into 3 there. I mean, if you're not going the same speed, you know, full 100%, the steer's going to get to the end of the rope, and your horse is going to die off, and then that's where it hurts you. If your horse is running and you stick, you can keep it moving to where 2 coals stays 2 coals, or 1.5 coals at the barrier if you nail the barrier. So, I mean, I think that's what he's done a good job at, being able to get his horse running as he heads a steer and keep momentum.
Yes, because, again, with T-Wade's style, I mean, it's often to know that he primarily, if you see him somewhere, you might think that he's going to reach too far at a point and certain time when he doesn't need to, but he's lived by it. He doesn't change. You know, he reaches no matter what a lot of times. And I know he's probably smart and is roping up a lot, but I'm impressed totally because these guys measure so well. I think, and I don't know what it did. I mean, was it somebody that decided, hey, watch Speedy and I'm going to stand behind the hay dummy and wear it out? I mean, because I know T-Wade from the start was never a guy that just said, hey, he was going to run up to the hip every time.
You know, I think we've talked about it a lot, but I think like we talked about earlier, your guys' era, like if you had the Hork Dog or let's say a roping that was in her 2 or 3 times, 2 times or whatever, like you still took the same throws. Yeah, you run up there and like if you gave a kid a chance, not a kid, but like say an up and comer that maybe a one-time qualifier and he reached a cool or 2, Heathers are looking back like you dumbass. You know what I mean? Like you got crucified. The old guys like, I mean, they might go tell their buddies. Like, I mean, this dumb. I mean, what's he doing? I mean, there's this guy. He ain't gonna make it out here. He don't know how to run a catch sir. Well, then there got to be a point where like somebody tried it, like people started trying it, and then like they got okay with missing.
I agree.
At the jackpots, and so like nowadays, like they might like the best guys may show up, miss both steers in the first round from 3 coils back, and then head to the house. Like, there's one tomorrow.
I know it.
There's one the next day, and then we're going to 4. You know, he might miss. Say some of the guys might miss 3 days in a row of stuff. Well, then win on the 4th day and win 10, 15,000, and like it's all right. We salvaged the week. You know what I mean? They're not looking at it like, Jake Barnes and a lot of those guys like they thought about that damn steer that they missed or let get away. But there was only so many jackpots throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Now there's 2 to 4 jackpots a week, plus all the rodeos and things we're going to. So you're getting more comfortable. I'm not going to say with losing, but like taking that approach, and then that's dominoed to where now you're having to take that approach more because more people are doing it. And there's people that aren't making a living at all that are very capable of making the very fastest run of the day on any day that will wake back up and do it again. And they make it harder for us to make a living because they're very capable of doing it. And it drops down further.
So let's real quick go back on that. Back when those days when Cleo and Jake did 7, Speed and Rich did 8, you know, those were crazy, incredible. Nowadays, like you just said, those youngsters, up and coming guys that are sponsored up and they can take more chances. They can go do exactly what you said, miss 2 and go back to the trailer. Back in those guys' days, it was, I mean, in your days too, I'm sure, but you know, they had to catch and go to the next one. You think it's just like because they have the money sponsoring it back?
I don't think the sponsorship has anything to do with it, to be honest with you, because I think it's still, not saying they might not have 1 or 2 people helping them out, but still you're not going to get sponsors until later on in your career. So I don't think that's necessarily a reason. I think it's, you compete so much, they save up where they can go compete, and there's 20 of them that are very capable. They just haven't broke through, hadn't had enough experience, whatever, but they still live by the sword, you know, live and die by the sword, and they connect every so often. Well, if there's 20 of them doing it, 5 of them might connect that day, and that makes your day harder. So I don't necessarily think it's to do with just money doesn't matter. It's just more, I mean, they might have to go home and sell a practice horse to keep going. I mean, they're still grinding, trying to
absolutely
get there. But I just think it's the mindset that happened. There was somebody that pioneered that. Yeah. You know, like a lot of him. I mean, he was that way. You know, like he went out. He would do it. He would do it live by it, and then now he's perfected it to where he can do it over and over. But like then there becomes a force like now, like you have to do it. You know,
his ass is gritty enough too that it didn't bother him that much. And I wasn't one to sit in the stands, but maybe I was if I'm in fact knowledgeable enough to think, what in the fuck was we doing in this? Why did you do that?
Yeah.
You know, but then now I look and think, you know what? Hey, maybe I understand why now.
But being able to do both, like you said, year ago and you're 15 on 3, that's fine. But you might be 9 to win the roping.
Yeah.
You better go be 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And you don't try that 5 flat stuff no more.
Yeah.
So like adapting where you got both. The best guys got both.
Yeah, like Coleman Proctor, one of my favorite guys. He ropes good. He was from my area. I got to rope with him early on. But he evolved, you know, and I often think to myself, why did it take him so long, you know, or what's going on? But it was just a tough era for a header to kind of maybe stay within 2 good horses, stay within the financial economics you need in order to get yourself going without the sponsors. It's great to have a good family, or we don't go. So
rodeo wise too, like you win the average at Dodge City. Not to call you out on your leg, but we roped a leg at Dodge City and come back win the second round, win 3,000. Well, the average only pays 4,500. So we rope a leg and then we make it 12th back and wind up winning the short round for 1,400 and then win fourth in the average too. You know what I mean? We might have won 8,500 and the winner won 4,200, 4,500, you know? So like the money's there where you better get in that round too to really
make it,
to really make the finals, you know, because you can win the average at Dodge City for 4,500, miss at Castle Rock and Heber and Phillipsburg, and you didn't even make par that week. You know what I mean?
What do you, I mean, with 8 in a row, I mean, 8 overall, doesn't matter in a row or not, but 8 in a row consecutively, do you think that ever be touched again?
I don't.
There's just too many gunslingers out there. There's too many guys, like you said, that will take that, the out of 20, them 5 that will take that opportunity, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just that hard.
Well, here's the deal.
Not talk about
Speedy?
I think
we dropped the whole 8 because 3 of those, one of them was a $20,000 lead. Another 2, I got my 7,500 in my Crown Royal buckle. Man, shit, let's roll on.
Let's talk to Jake and Clay in their 70s.
I thought about I think 8 in a row. I mean, it just looks so far out to what could be that being touched, but I think you could never bet against it because history always proves itself that, and as these things, like we've talked about earlier, are getting better, more standalone events, more things happening, more money involved, that drives more competition.
Well, how long?
It's going to get tougher.
The NFR record was forever. 20 years or something, and then it got broke twice one night.
So I'm saying, like, horses are going to get better. People are going to get better. Things are going to, and then there's going to be somebody that stands out, you know, that puts their heart. So I just think you could probably never say never, but as of right now, it looks so hard for how competitive it is.
You guys are only 7 away.
I'm saying no. But
no, that's just that's just regardless of it, consecutive or not. It's just so hard now. I mean, not like I'm not taking away hard back then, but now it just seems like there's so many more people going for first. Well, not trying to make a living necessarily, like trying to go in there.
Well, it's cool when they speak of it because I was that record. I mean, in '94, this went 3-8, and then it took so many years before they were ever broke a 3 barrier. Because, it was a semi-crossfire at the time. It hit itself well, but Doyle and a horse that he called Angie, when the little rattler it fit tight, and it just happened. So then that record stayed for a long time.
And how long did Harry Rhodes flag?
Oh, God.
That's your buddy.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Say if he flagged for 15 years in a row, he holds it a little longer to make sure, which I think he does a great job. But I'm saying in general.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you get a new guy that's ready to pop a little faster.
Yeah, there's a lot
of
scenarios.
Yeah, where maybe your whole career, if Harry flagged the entire time, you weren't busting a 3 very often because he wasn't going to let you. You know what I mean?
Let's talk real quick about, so you guys show up to the finals a couple days before, 3 days before, whatever. Talk us through that. So you get there, you put your horses up, then you have a lot of stuff to do. You have the back number ceremonies and all that. Talk us through that. What's that 3 days before the final, before you run your first one?
And you just, that Monday you'll check in the room, kind of get settled in, horses put away, and then the back number ceremony, you'll kind of, take the family, they'll have food and stuff like that, kind of gather around. It's pretty cool. I mean, I think everybody gets to kind of drink a few beers and talk a little bit.
Yeah, loosen up.
I mean, the team, very rarely are the top 15 team ropers hanging around each other in that type of space for very long. So I mean, you get to kind of BS some guys that you're not, maybe spending much time with or whatever in that environment, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of loosen up a little bit. And then,
tell me about your family, Wesley. How many?
I got two boys. I got a little girl on the way.
Awesome.
January, but they're 5 and 7.
Right,
they'll go out. They love Vegas. They like the lights.
It's the best, yeah.
They like the lights.
T-Wade?
I got a 6-year-old little boy and a 7-month-old girl. So
awesome. All right.
Yeah. We got to herd them. Gratuity's going to kill us if we go eat together.
Yeah, you roll out the roller carts, and you'll have 4 roller carts coming in, and you go right up there to the room because you're there for nearly 15 days.
Oh yeah. We're there for a while, and
in Arizona before that.
Yeah, like I'll take my oldest one. He'll go with me in Arizona, and then my littlest one, my wife will meet me in Vegas on that Monday. But he'll go with me, go to the jackpots, rope the dummy stuff, hang out, and then. But no, we just kind of get settled in at Vegas basically, and then make sure everything's going smooth. And there'll be the grand entry practices and all that sort of stuff. Check in and. Pictures.
And, you guys run them? You guys break
them? Well, then we'll get to run them through. And we'll chase them. Somebody will push them, chase them to the back end. Headers will rope them. once and then follow them to the back. And then the next time through, they'll get to turn them. And they'll kind of make their plans from there. But the run through is pretty cool, really.
Yeah. And then you have a lot of autograph signings and that all stuff all week. Does that, I mean, I know you kind of have to do it as part of your guys' requirements or whatever, but does that, I mean, especially like if you had a bad night before, do you like just want to, I mean, I'm sure there's times you're just like, shit, like.
Man, you can look at it that way. I've always thought, I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I dreamed of making the finals. Course. Like I dreamed, like I watched these guys on TV. I couldn't go to sleep I used to go to bed early when I was a little kid, but like I would stay up every night, watch the finals. Yeah. Like I looked forward to that, and I wanted to be those guys. Like I wanted to be there. So like, I feel like it almost wouldn't be fair if I was the guy that's like, oh, this is a pain in the ass or all that. Like I wanted somebody to believe in me, to sponsor me one day and like be able to, awesome. So it's like, I'm grateful for that, and grateful to be there. And like, if I ever get to a point where I'm not, I hope that somebody either whips my ass or I retire, one of the two. So like, I don't feel like it's fair to be that way. And some are, maybe some aren't, but I just, yeah. Do you get tired sometimes, or you might be sick? I mean, you get sick I've gotten sick probably 8 out of the 10 times or 9 times I've been to Vegas. So I mean, most every time I get sick, but it's just how it is. Yeah. But I mean, I'm glad to be there and thankful to be there, and that's kind of how I try to look at it.
I mean, the most people, 2 days in Vegas are like, damn, we're ready to go home. You know what I mean? And you guys, like, you're there 15 days or whatever. I could just imagine.
Wesley parties too. I mean, this is always, I just hear stories.
My first time I signed autographs, 2016, and nobody knows who the hell I am. You know what I mean? And I'm sponsored by 3 or 4 different companies. Wrangler was one of them. And they said, hey, you got to go to booth, whatever, at Boot Barn. And I was the only guy there.
Yeah.
So across the aisle from me at the Cowboy Convention Center is Sherry Cervey, Fallon Taylor, and Mary Walker. And there is a list. I mean, just a line of just people a mile long. I'm on the other side. And it's just me at this booth. And, man, I got an autograph pad. I barely catch it. They got a terrible picture. I think I missed the steer or split the horns or something. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just sitting there. And I had to sit there for 2 hours. And I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to be cool, but I'm not cool. You know what I mean? And finally, one lady walks up there, and she's like, well, if nobody wants your autograph, I'll take it. I was like, don't do it out of pity today.
It seems like the first autograph pass is always the worst.
Oh, it was
miserable. Find it, found something you really like to sign. It's just like your first one was like a brick or a block. Yeah. It's black and white. All your sponsors may not be fitting the deal at the bottom, right?
Oh,
what's your name? Where you from?
It was embarrassing.
Them lines are a little longer nowadays, I imagine, though.
Oh, there's a lot of little kids that wrote, you know what I mean? And I think they're just so much more social media with TikTok and
I want their own
stuff, you know what I mean? There's a lot of, I want to just have something with me to give all the kids that, you know what I mean, look forward to.
You can sign 100.
Get a rope and glove or something.
Sign 100 for me.
Sign $100 bill. Well, let's talk about what you guys have going on. You guys have started up. I guess it's
we call it the World Youth Team Roping Championships. So me and him both grew up going to what they call the World Junior, and it was in Ardmore where I grew up. Britt went to it probably in Amarillo or Ada.
I went to Allen and Amarillo.
Okay,
is that where you saw Bry back
in
the truck?
Okay. So they, it started a long time ago. A lot of history with it, and it was an event where a lot of the pros came. They had open ropings. The kids came. They had junior, 14 under, high school and under, and then they had where the pros and the kids roped together. And it was just a really cool event, I thought, for the industry because the kids get to be around their heroes. They get to rope with them, and then they get to compete against the very best kids from all over the world that meet in one spot. So they're beating the best kid from Nevada, the best kid from California, the best kid from Arizona, and it's like they didn't know them, or now they create lifelong friendships for one, but they're also getting to go see where they're at and they're roping, and then like, hey, go home and come back next year and test it out. Yeah. But anyway, it was a really, really cool event, and they got to rope with their heroes and all that. Well, several years ago, it kind of died off. They didn't have it anymore. So like I've been saying, me and him talked about it for a while, like, hey, somebody needs to do that. I think like that was such a cool atmosphere, and like it was very meaningful for me in my career growing up. And finally we just said, hey, let's do it. And so last year we had the first one. We called it the World Youth Team Roping Championships, and we did it in Stephenville, Texas. And all the pros came and supported it like crazy. That's awesome. They came out, they roped with the kids. They brought 7-8 horses apiece. They entered all, as many times as we gave them runs for. And like, it was super cool. And we got
I remember not to interrupt you, but Chad Masters and Clay Smith come up there, and they enter with so many kids. Their bill's like $3,500 a piece.
Jeez.
And they were gonna pay it, and me and Wesley got together and we're like, hey, we can't.
We're not.
We got to get the sponsors to cover this because it was so cool that they stuck around and did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which was the same concept because the T-Wade was always around, whether it was Paula and Elton Kane and Twister who did the roping there for several years, whether it was in Amarillo or Ada or wherever that went. So they tried to make the tradition carry on. I think it's great, just like Wesley said, for competition reasons. I think because, I mean, at the time, a small guy from northeastern Oklahoma, I couldn't wait to get to rope with somebody that roped better. And normally the guys from Arizona would show up, whether it was Duncan's when we first started, when Steve Northcott was a champion there, and Denton Payne.
Kai and Sayre, all them guys. When it went to Amarillo, and then from Amarillo it went to Ardmore. And like I said, we showed up, we might enter 30 times. You know,
it's pretty cool that the best guys at every era that we
it was generational. Like it was so cool. You're not that old, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We would go to Allen. And Allen was, Bill Duncan, the guy in California, I just read his name anyway. There would be Denton Payne, here's Speedy, which Speedy had him normally some purple Wranglers and some kind of shirt with a long braided belt. But they're all in the back of the chutes, and in the fourth round, everybody's hard. Throw it, give it to him, you broke it. A lot of childish bullshit, but there's history in that, from that point forward. I roped with Matt Sherwood. He healed for me when I was 14 years old. He's got way too much stall on his heel loop, but he heads way better. But I stuck him one at the back, and I still tell him today, and I got a picture of it. And he come around, and he did have some big-time stall, and it just ended up real deep right there where we roped, and it didn't make it.
So it was like a measuring stick.
It was. It was like I met, because like you don't know where you're coming up. I was probably 13, 14, getting where I was roping better, but I'm like, who, I don't know where I'm at really. Like I think like people, all the old guys tell me I'm, good, but then all of a sudden you show up there and Brady Norman strums my ass, and it's like he's 2 years younger and that much better. Like I'm a 6+ and I got raised to a 7+. I was 14 or just turned 15. Oh. And he's an 8+ and he's 13.
Wow.
And to this day, like maybe the best 13-year-old healer there's ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, little Mike obviously is pretty tough, but like Brady, I still tell you, he was amazing. He didn't mess up.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, it was a great measuring stick.
Yeah.
And like it was always fun it was a little bit intimidating sometimes. You're like, golly, am I that far behind? But then you leave and you're like, all right, I'm going to see where I'm at next year. And if you really cared about it, that's what you wanted.
We do want to live with the fact that we want to see the best kids excel and kind of see where the measuring stick is. But we still got other ropings. We got a 14 under. We got a number 10 high school and under. So like, if you don't feel like you want to try Nikki Northcott on, you don't have to. You know what I mean? There's other ropings you can rope in. We got a pro-am where all the sponsors and dads and moms and everybody can.
Maybe I can get you. Maybe
yeah,
you won't try no horse this time.
I'll be at that one.
I gotta say real quick, I had him in the survey I was supposed to that day, and I told everybody.
My defense, I didn't know I was doing
everybody, and they're like, hey, how'd you do? I was like, oh, he broke out. He missed it. He didn't show up. I had to throw that in there. But no,
in
my defense, I didn't know.
When is this going to be going on?
So it's March 21st through the 23rd at 377 Arena in Stephenville.
It's just coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah,
week before the junior BFI.
And a lot of them did make a trip. Like they came down, went to that rope, and then they could go straight to the BFI.
Cool.
That's cool. One thing we've got together and got all the sponsors that sponsor the event, they want to sponsor the kids too.
Yeah.
So these kids are getting a chance to meet their future endorsees and get endorsed right away.
Yeah.
Maybe on a smaller scale, and as they win and progress, they're the more they do, the more you get type of situation. And I can imagine when I was 18, I didn't have a patch on my shirt till I made the finals. But if you started getting that discount on product and benefiting from it and doing all that stuff and kind of learning the ropes, I think
Yeah.
The relationships are the most important thing. I mean, as far as when it comes to sponsorship, that's how it works. I mean, you gotta find somebody, somewhere to start, and then as you grow together, I mean, it'll make it easier for these kids at a younger age to be able to build a relationship. They'll see what kind of person they are, how they represent themselves, how they promote them, and then as it becomes a time where it begins a better deal, they've got their foot in the door. It's not, they're not, where do I go?
And that's kind of some of the business now. I mean, if you're going to rope good and you're going to win, you're going to have to do interviews. You're going to have to learn how to talk. You're going to have to do these things that it's not just roping anymore. You got to learn how to, like, the business side of it. And I think some of the people lack that. And I think that's good, starting them out young, talking to these sponsors. And I think you guys are doing great. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's really cool.
It's been fun. It was really fun. I mean, it's one of the most fun things I've ever done as far as putting it together. I mean, obviously we put a lot of effort into it, but it was worth it. Like to see the kids there and like we couldn't walk to like the parents were super appreciative and great. I was just surprised at how much it did mean to a lot of them. Like even Steve Northcott, he came up and he's like, Steve doesn't get too excited about much anymore, you know what I mean? But he come up and he's like, hey, dude, this is awesome. He's like, it brought back good memories for me for what his era. So, like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, run 2 arenas, had over 1,300 entries.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
That's kind of where they got with the other ones is that before really the access to 2 arenas and the technology to run them both, it was just, I mean, because I can remember being in Amarillo and I drove till 7 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
Joel Maker, Keith Sweeney.
They didn't start right back over.
Oh, we'll start right back over. We never sleep. Just roll back into it, you know?
And with 2 arenas, that without it, that kind of takes the fun out of it, you know, being a marathon. But that's cool. You guys got 2 arenas.
But we battle with the best and continue to work that way because, again, I say every time, you'll only rope with your clientele. And these guys got good because they chose to rope with people that rope better than them at the time. And they continued to until they figured out what they needed to do to win.
Nope, I'm rooting for you guys. You guys are now you guys are my favorite team now. So shit.
Wonderful team, man. Really.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah. One more question too. So, mindset on your first 3 steers to finals. Are you going at them, T-Wade?
Nope. I think that we found a rhythm that works, and what was kind of cool after last year, in my opinion, is like. You have a plan and you want it to work and you kind of see where it's at. And then after you pull it off, hey, we know it works.
All right.
Let's just ride it out, stick to it, and do it the best we can.
Is Driggers going at him?
God, I hope not.
Dustin going at him?
Dude, I bet Dustin goes at him. But I'll tell you, in my opinion, the fastest team out there is Coleman and Logan.
All right, why?
Man, he's just that Heisman is probably one of the best horses in that building. You know, obviously long scores and stuff is probably not his game, but I mean, across the barrier, the first 30 feet, he's hauling butt. Logan gets around the end of it every time. They both ride good horses and finish. And Coleman's sharp and Logan's fast. And I'm telling you, that 3-1 probably, I mean, wasn't a world record, but no, it was pretty close to legit. And I was or wasn't, but I think they're fast, dude. I'm telling you that I think they're the fastest team.
He got a good flat because he intimidates the judges.
Hey, we were first out just for the record. Yeah, you never see that.
And they always hold it on the first team, you know.
We might have been 3-2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So no, I there ain't nobody probably don't go at them, but I mean Clint, that horse with Jake Long, I mean they got a hell of a rhythm in there. Dustin.
I like Wesley's healing. I like Jake Long's healing. I think Paulie's is amazing. I mean, those 3 guys. Junior Nogueira's great. I always feel that he's great, but I just think these guys here, when it comes down to maybe not getting the inside leg or slipping one, I just think they're solid.
And then the story about Mr. Bon On, I mean, being such a big break right there. That's a long time. I misspoke last time. I said it was 12. It's only been 9 seasons or 9 years ago, but I mean, that's a gap. 9 years. Coming back like that, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And you know that guy, even if he wasn't rodeoing, he's still roping for a living. You know? I mean, he's riding horses, doing the deal and all that. And so like, I don't think he lost as much because he was still in it at some level. You know what I mean? Like he roped every day, all day, just maybe not he wasn't at the office, at the desk all day. But
guys like that, I don't think lose a period.
No.
Is there? I mean, I guess not for you guys, but I mean, is there ever a time where like after a certain round where you guys like, hey, you know, let's just go for the average?
It's pretty funny. We honestly, like my goal would be our first run through the 9th run to be the same. Like not saying it's going to be the same time, but the same approach.
Change it up.
10th round, like your goal of the 10th round is to be able to knock them down for a world title, because like it's almost never sewed up by the 10th round because average and round plays such a factor. That's $100,000 difference. So you almost got to, you know, the 10th round you could either have to place or you have to just catch or something. But you need a, you know, anyway.
I just got to win 2 checks there at the end.
Yeah, in the end. I mean, well, not necessarily. It's either 1 or 2. You either need to hold your spot in the average and just complete the course, or you might have to win 4th or better, or you might have to win the round and the average. You know, whatever it is, you might have to rise to the occasion. But I just think, I don't know. I just think you have to have that plan. You know, have the plan and stick to it. Really.
Because what's it pay the average? 80?
I think it'll be 79 or 80 this year, maybe. Yeah.
That's a hell of a final.
$33,000 rounds this year.
Ooh, I was wrong. I thought it was 30. Jeez,
the other day, 33,000.
Man, there's gonna be pretty soon. It's gonna be $50,000 round pretty soon.
Hopefully, so.
Damn.
Hope I'm still rodeoing when it's 50.
Yeah. Well, at least your boy out there will.
Yeah,
he'll benefit from it.
Yeah.
But. Well, we you better let you guys get out of here. We
Holler at him if you need to run.
in the pro-am, let me know. Well, we appreciate having you guys on. And Britt, you got anything else to say?
Yeah, man, just true champions, guys that have persevered. We like to see what they got. You know, we want to hear what they talk about and what's kind of inside and what's not. And I think you got it pretty heartfelt. I think both well-spoken young gentlemen that are pretty fucking badass at what they do, and I can't wait to see them do it out there.
So I'll be there tonight. The Hondo. I'll be there tonight. Yeah, I'll be that annoying guy. Hey, you remember me?
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Go get an autograph from T-Way in case there's nobody in his line.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Guys.